What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Thank you so much again for tuning in for the 17th episode. 17. This is the Phillip Rivers episode, So what better fitting fashion? So thank you all so much again for tuning in again. Please make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to us by hitting the button in the bottom right-hand corner. It really helps us out with the channel and also too, it really supports us. And also to make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it and check out other content that we have in our channel as well. Make sure also to follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Tuffy Talk Now. Bam. And also to please make sure as well to that if you're interested in any Tuffy Talk merchandise, please feel free to direct message us about that as well. So on today's episode, we'll be interviewing Tony Adams, former offensive guard for NC State, and kind of see what's going on with him these days. So with that being said, let's go and get this thing started. All right, everybody. Thank you so much again for tuning in. We are here with Tony Adams, former offensive lineman for NC State University. Man, what's going on, Tony? You doing all right?
I'm doing great. Doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the call. Throwback.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's a pleasure, man. Appreciate the time. So, I mean, I know a lot's been going on with you. I've been keeping up with you some on social media. I know you've been doing a lot of new ventures recently. So just wanted to kind of, for the State fans who maybe haven't, seen you recently, kind of give a little bit of update, what's been going on with you, what have you been getting into, where are you at these days, all that jazz. Just kind of give an update on where you at.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. I'm coaching at my local high school, which is Myers Park. And we're currently 8-0. Going into our second round of playoffs. We're about to play Panther Creek up there from Raleigh, in second round of playoffs. But we're doing pretty well. So that's what I'm doing currently. With this last year, I got into more of the training side, though. So I've been taking a lot of young offensive and defensive linemen around ages 12 to 18, and I've been training them. And it's been one of the most gratifying things ever, just to see these little guys grow into great football players and telling them things that I wish I knew, especially at their age. So that's what I'm going into right now. I've started my own business, Adams Athletics also. And what we're doing now, we're kind of implementing the training, but then eventually we're going to get into manufacturing high combat sport equipment. So things you can always punch, you can hit, you can take down, all that type of stuff. So we're getting into that later on within the venture. But everything's going good, and I give all glory to God in all my ventures. So it's been dope.
So I know you kind of mentioned, so I mean, I know, from your Instagram that you do have Adams Athletics. And so is that separate than the offensive line training thing that you were saying? Is that a separate thing?
It all kind of points. It all goes into it. Now, I do want to break off into a different sector when we get into Adams, like when we get into this offensive and defensive line training. But I started out training so that the training device could just make more sense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that it all kind of comes together and with all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. And so, I mean, now that you kind of gotten into coaching, I know you obviously when you were at State, you worked under and this kind of skipping forward a little bit, but you were under Mike Urimovich and Coach Leffert a little bit. So I'm curious. So I'm curious now that you are a coach, I mean, do you kind of take a little bit of inspiration from each of those guys or one of those guys? Like, I mean, just kind of curious, on your coaching philosophy now.
That's great. That's a great question. Absolutely. And it's crazy too, because every coach that I've been with has had different philosophies. So what I try to do my best at is to take each philosophy that I like the most and make my own. Like Coach U was definitely way more tuned with knowing our assignments. It wasn't that Coach Leffert wasn't, but Coach Leffert was more of a technician of making sure the job was done correctly, meaning, technique and everything else like that, where Coach U was assignments, like, who you're going to, how you're getting it. So taking both of their kind of expertises in that and combining it, I just feel like I'm grateful for having those guys teach me and mentor me, because now I can do it to the people that I want to teach and mentor myself.
Yeah. Well, no, because I mean, I know from working at State while both those guys were there, it's hilarious to me. I feel like the differences between the two in terms of you look at Leffert, you go, all right, that dude coaches offensive line. You look at Coach U, you go, maybe
Yo,
special teams. Yeah. So I mean, not hating on Coach U. I mean, that dude knew his stuff, but just it's just kind of it was kind of funny the difference between the two. So I do got to ask you though. So the other part of the social media which stood out to me was I know recently you've got into more of a musician side as well.
oh,
So yeah, so
mm,
yeah, I mean I've seen some of your stuff, and so for those who don't know, so you go under the name X Boost. Am I correct on that? Some of your songs that you have.
it's really just Boost, but
Okay.
I'm trying to figure I'm trying to figure it, but it's Boost. It's Boost
Okay.
right now.
Okay, cool. So I mean, was that something that you did? I mean, even before, I mean, more than recently, like even like back to your state days, or is that something that just kind of came up recently?
Yeah,
When
man, we'd actually be at state,
okay.
and there was a music city. There's a music studio
Hmm.
at our library. I don't know if you remember that. You remember that?
Yeah, it's at Home Library, right?
Yeah. But they
Hmm.
had it at the older one too. They
DHL.
had a
Okay.
but we would go to Hunt during finals week, and during finals week you're supposed to be studying for finals, right? No.
Yeah.
The whole football team would be in the studio going crazy. And I'm grateful for that too at State. At State was just a great experience. But just being able to do that and it being school oriented, you know what I mean, was just
Mhm.
awesome. So being there, what I did there, I just was making music and I learned a lot at Hunt Library. But then I brought my own equipment and put it in my crib. That way I started just making beats and then making music at our dorms. And then, the players would come in, I would make the beat, they would rap to it, we would freestyle.
Mhm.
I did it a little bit prior to going to school though. I did do maybe a year or two in high school before I got to Hunt, or before I got to NC State, but I really got into it when I was in college.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. And so and then I got to ask. So where did you come up with the name Boost? I mean, where was the inspiration behind that name?
Yeah, that's a great. So basically, I was really trying to figure out a name that fit me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But ultimately, it all just worked what it was, because at first it was like Boost Boy tone and all that type of stuff. But I was just like, let me just keep it at Boost. And I'm a big Kanye West fan, and he has the Yeezy Boosts. So and then I actually have the box right with me too, and it just all fit. You know what I mean? I'm a big Kanye fan. I love Yeezys. I think it just I'm a guy that you know I have a boosted energy. That's the energy one. That's where it comes from. It's just I want to boost the energy. I want to boost the place. I just want to boost the environment. You feel me? In any way. So that's where I kind of got the name at.
Okay.
That's the first time being asked that. I appreciate that though. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, just because I know, you're not great, but I mean, I know you well enough. And I was like, Boost. I don't
Yeah.
ever really remember hearing that name.
Yeah.
So
I have
cool.
a bunch of names.
Okay.
I might stick with Tony or OG Tony or something like that. But I like Boost right now. Boost is nice.
Good, sweet. All right, so now, one of the things, obviously, your professional career. One of the things that stood out to me, when you were coming out was, I know that from a expert perspective that I mean I remember seeing that from an NFL draft perspective back in 2018 that you were in some list put as like the fifth or sixth best offensive guard in the NFL draft, and so that's why it was really shocking to me when you weren't drafted. I know that even when the Jaguars signed you as a free agent, that everybody was saying, oh man, that's a steal, to sign Tony as an undrafted free agent. So,
Yeah.
one of the kind of things I wanted to ask is, like we interviewed Matt Days a week ago, and he was a guy who got signed like with like the next to last pick, and how he was saying, man, that was such a tough thing to my agent was telling me I was going to get drafted in the fifth round, but I didn't get drafted until like the seventh round, and it was just so. I mean, I was kind of wanted to ask you kind of the same side, because it's something that you don't really hear a whole lot. Is that what was it a shocker to you, and then just kind of like how was that process, going through the draft really?
Yeah, that whole year was crazy. That was 2018.
Hmm.
And that was a crazy year. And by the start of it, I got hurt my last game of the season against Carolina, and
Hmm.
I think that's something that kind of hurt my draft stock. And looking back at my senior year, I just didn't play as well as I wanted to my senior year. I can't tell you why. I don't know what it was, but I do know that I did get a little too prideful, and I didn't execute as well as I wanted to my senior year. So I put that all on me. And then getting hurt just didn't help it. So after that, I went to go train, and I didn't take care of my injury as well. And this is all pre-draft. So I going into the draft, I didn't know what to expect, just because so many things had kind of came up that kind of, altered a lot of things. I didn't get invited to the combine. A lot of people said I should have got invited there. But I think when back then, I was happy I didn't go because I was hurt. I didn't want to not be able to perform bad because I wasn't 100% healthy. But looking back at it, it probably would have been better for just to show my face so people would know. For all that was going on, I got sick. So a lot of things just hitting me, right? So all of a sudden, I just got to the point where I was like really just trying to figure things out, because it got really stressful at that point in time. And and then the draft day, that's when it really hit hard to say, like, being undrafted at all. And, but that whole stint, that whole time allowed me to kind of resurface my thoughts, understand myself more. And then it just ultimately got me closer to God. So that started my journey with giving my life to Jesus Christ. And then looking back at it, that whole time where everything was stressful and everything ended up being the best thing that could have happened to me. Because now, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on, I'm just thankful for the day. I'm thankful for the blessings that God has bestowed upon me. And then also just where he brought me through, even after that stint, because I was, I got signed by the Jags and then ended up being on my hometown team, the New England Patriots. So
That's right.
But it's a great time.
Good, man. Good. Well, that's awesome. And because one of the things too, which I know is that it was definitely a shocker coming across my Twitter feed when I saw that I guess you didn't you didn't pass the physical or whatever it was for the Jaguars. So I know you were just saying that you were dealing with a bunch of sicknesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just was a crazy year. So was that kind of what it was? A lot of was that just health wise you weren't 100% there to really make it to the training camp.
Yeah, man. It was funny too, because I missed spring because of the failed physical. And I thought I was done. I thought I wasn't going to play football anymore. I was like, this is just too stressful. I'm going through way too much. I don't think that I'll be able to play again. There's a lot of times where I thought I wasn't going to be able to play again because nobody knew what the sickness was. But looking back at it, I just was since I had the surgery, wisdom teeth, and I had another infection, I was just taking too many rounds of antibiotics. And so what it does, it just damages your everything within your immune system, your gut flora. So I wasn't able to run lift weights. My muscles weren't, they were going through atrophy without me even not lifting or not running, just because it didn't really know, like, the creatine in my muscles weren't activating. You know what I mean? It was like something crazy that was going on. Yeah. But then, there was a point where I thought I wasn't going to play anymore. But then when I really put my faith in God, it was incredible how quickly things turned around. And it was like simultaneous. But then there were all those things that happened to me because I had a great college career. You know what I mean? Everything was very smooth. I didn't really have a lot of adversity. Obviously I worked hard, but it wasn't like I had to go through things I just worked hard and I was able to start my freshman year. And then when I got too prideful, God allowed things to happen to me that he kind of prevented before. It wasn't that he did it, but he just allowed things to so he can make me realize to say, I've had a good hand in your success in your life. Let me make sure that you know that without me, it's going to be hard for you to be successful. Not to say it like that, but just the joy that you get with me in pursuing these things is a lot more, fulfilling in that, the everlasting love that God has for me. So in that's why I'm saying I'm very appreciative of it, all that happening. But what was the question again? I'm sorry. I know it was a long time.
Well, basically about the physical, but I mean,
yeah,
you covered it. So you're good on that. So I mean, I know that one of the questions I didn't have down, but I mean, I do got to ask about for the state fans who didn't kind of quite catch that. So you got signed by the Jaguars, and then you got actually ended up getting signed by the Patriots to kind of finish out your career and go meet the now NFL renowned Joe Tooney, which I mean, hats off to that guy. I mean, congrats to that guy. But I mean, so I do got to ask you though. I mean, so tell me about that moment when you got that call from the New England Patriots say, I want you to come and play for your hometown team. I mean, I got to hear that story.
So I was actually, when I got cut from the Jags,
Mhm.
I thought I was done with football again. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I'm good. I finished out camp. I played a whole preseason game. And
Mhm.
for what happened to me previous that year, I was just happy just to get that done. I didn't really know where I was going to go next. So I ended up looking for an actual job. So I was in my third round of interviews with this next job that I was going to get. I was going to be very happy with it. It's just that it was so stressful. I just didn't understand that, I didn't have any control of what was going on in the football world. I just felt like I would have more control just getting my own job and just pursuing that. So that's why I kind of went that route. But then I was still training. I was still staying in shape. But then I was really looking at this job to make sure that I had some sense of stability. So it went 15 weeks where I wasn't on the team. 15. So at that point in time, I'm like, okay, it's probably done. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I'm on my third round of interviews. They had me fly up to DC. And then all of a sudden, my agent calls me and says, hey, where you at? We're going to put you on a flight to New England, Foxborough, and you're going to do a workout with the Patriots. And literally, I'm like, can it wait? Because I'm like, let me
Right.
finish this. Like, there's no sense of you can go up there for a workout and they still won't sign you. You know what I mean? And I didn't know what to sabotage or sacrifice at that moment. I was stupid back then. You know what I mean? But at that time, I was really feeling like I was done. But I was like, all right, bet. It ended up working out to where I got on the flight, was able to finish the interview and still get on the flight. And I killed the workout because I had stayed in shape. I stayed in a good weight. And when I was done, I was the only guy there, only person working out. We were walking back from the practice field, and I just looked up, and I just know for sure that God was there with me that whole time. I mean, he was there the whole time, but he was just showing me after that long year of going through sickness, not getting invited to the draft, that at that point is that my faith it was just shown. It was just shown that no matter what you go through, you can really nothing's impossible. Does that make sense? And
Oh
then
yeah.
ended up later that year, we won the Super Bowl. So it was just it was the craziest year of my life, but the best year. It was amazing.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. And I mean, to I'm sure for you, just like you said, being from the Massachusetts area, to have a Super Bowl ring, wherever that Super Bowl ring is, with the New
Yeah.
England Patriots on it, and having your name on it, I mean, I'm sure that's priceless to you. I'm sure.
It was surreal. Like you said, the first day I was there, when I was done with the workout, Bill Belichick, he calls up meetings, and then I'm in the first meeting, and what he does, he says, these are the players that got cut, and these are the players that we get signed on. So was in the middle room, and I'm sitting down, and he's talking about the players that was cut. He was like, okay, yeah, we signed and Tony Adams. So when he said my name, I didn't know if I should get up and say what's up, or I should keep. But as soon as he said my name, I was like, I went like this, and then he kept going. I was like, okay, let me just chill. Let me know.
Yeah.
So that was a surreal moment for me where Bill Belichick had said my name, that I'm on the team and I'm from there. I grew up in Boston. My first game that I ever watched was the New England Patriots against the St. Louis Rams in Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. So it was something that you can't make up. You can't write it. You know what I mean? It was just incredible.
So the last question I got to ask about your professional career, though, was there a moment during your time with the Patriots where you got starstruck? Whether it was meeting Tom Brady, maybe meeting Coach Belichick, maybe even like a Julian Edelman. At any point during your time there, where you ever kind of had that moment really
Heck
pop to
yeah,
you?
man. Yeah. So that whole day, we're talking about the same day. I'm done with the meeting. We're coming out, and I'm walking to the locker room, and I'm trying to navigate. I don't know where I'm at, but I'm walking to the locker room, and I see Tom Brady, and he's talking to Rex Burkhead or something. And so I'm walking up, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, should I just walk by him, or should I give him a head
No,
nod? And
no, you
you know what I'm
got to
saying?
hate him.
Yeah, I gotta say what's up. You feel me? So I'm looking at him. I'm walking towards him, And then I'm trying to figure out what to say, just because, it's Tom Brady. I don't want to say nothing stupid.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, as I'm walking towards him, he approaches me. He says, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Tom." And then at that point in time, I'm like, what's up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't really know what to say, but I was like, I ended up getting my words out saying, how you doing? My name is Tony. Like, nice to meet you, like, for real. And then that was it. But it was crazy how that happened in itself, to where he introduced himself to me. Like, but that's what kind of leader he was. He was so for the team. He was so for anybody who was coming on. And they knew I was a practice squad guy. It wasn't like I was someone that was going to come help him immediately, but he knew I was there to help the team.
Hey,
But it was
you're getting paid to play football. I tell people
yeah,
all the time, practice
right.
squad, no shame in that whatsoever. You're getting paid to play football.
Yeah. Oh, I had no shame at all. I was fine at where I was at, but it was good though. I got better. I did better there too. Definitely.
Good. So now kind of transitioning a little bit. So coming out of high school, you were put as like a 2-3 star recruit. I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but NC State was the only offer that you had, even though you had interest from other local schools, including that other school down the road. I think like I saw like South Carolina maybe as well, something like that. But I mean, let me tell you, I mean, I think that's almost the NC State tradition. I mean, it's NC State tradition that, you got to be a 2 or 3 star.
Yeah.
Nobody's got to hear of you. And then you got to go and just light it up at state.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be a guy who basically came in from his freshman year in 2014 and started immediately playing and played all 4 years. I mean, played probably more games than probably most any NC offensive lineman maybe ever in NC history. I mean, played a ton of snaps, ton of games. I mean, was there a sense of did that sense kind of come across you when you got recruited and committed to come stay, like, I'm gonna show these guys, what they're missing out on a little bit. Just kind of want to get your kind of mindset going into state, if that kind of affected it at all.
I was there to do as best as I could. I didn't put any expectations on me. I was thankful that they gave me a shot. I was just thankful that they offered me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so groomed from my high school that working like that hard work was just in me. Mm-hmm. And looking back at it, like, I just worked hard. You know what I mean? I gave it my all every single time in the weight room. I didn't miss a rep, didn't miss anything. And for anybody who's watching this, that's what coaches see, is that they see that in you, that you're not going to fail, give up. Like, you're not going to try to skip anything. You're going to do it. You're going to do it as best as to your ability. And they know that you're going to translate that to the field. It took me a while to start like playing in a game. I think I didn't play until like the second or third. But they knew, like, I knew from whatever it was, that I was just going to play my hardest, that I was going to go my hardest. I didn't put any expectations on myself before I went in. And I think that's what helped me the most, because I didn't overthink. I just did what I needed to do. And that's what helped me.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And one of the big things too that I know when you came to state, that there was a very experienced line there as well, with guys like Alex Barr. You had Joe Tooney there. You had Quentin Schooley, you had Tyson Chandler. Those guys. So I mean, guys who also played a lot of snaps. But then on the opposite side as well, you had guys, even towards the end of your career, like Will Richardson, who was talented but hadn't played a lot of games, and like Gary Bradbury, who was brought as a tight end. And so focusing specifically on each of those times, yeah, Joe Tooney and Gary Bradbury, who both are you could argue as maybe in the conversation of as one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. I mean, they're definitely in that conversation. And so I mean, specifically, I mean, is it kind of crazy to think back on your time thinking, man, I got the opportunity to play with those guys, that are killing it right now on Sunday nights and Monday nights. And, I mean, I guess kind of looking back at it, like specifically at Garrett, did you see that potential in him to be a potential eventual first round pick by the Vikings? So kind of two-part question. Mm-hmm.
The first part to say, I think it's incredible that whole lineage of offensive linemen that came out of there, like have had a stamp on, where they were at college wise, and in the league. Like even if you look at Big T too, Big T was an All-American. Terron Prescott. You know what I'm saying? That's he was an All-American. Tyler Jones had opportunities. We all had an opportunity, and it was just like, it's what a blessing it to be that everybody that I played with was successful in some way. Tyson Chandler had an opportunity. He just had a couple of injuries. Rob Crisp, Quentin Schooley, he had a couple of opportunities too. And then, it's funny though. We knew how good Joe Tooney was when he was there. We knew he was going to be like one of the best to do it. Garrett, it was interesting because we knew how athletic he was. We knew that he could run, he could do all this. When he was at Charlotte Christian too, as a tight end, that boy had mitts, man. Like he came out with no gloves. That's the kind of swag he had on, but he was catching every ball to him because they had Bo Hines because he was a former NC State player. They would double him and then they would leave, have Garrett do his thing. But Garrett was a sure catcher. So we knew what kind of athlete he was. And he was a 2-star. And he's one of those guys who just outworked everybody. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like a Chubb too. Those two guys, man, you can tell that they wanted. And you can tell that they had the talent, but they also worked so hard. And it always translates to how hard you work, because they worked to get that first round to get that first round pick. You know what I mean? That's a difference between millions and millions of dollars of what kind of work she put in. And I think for that question, to answer your question about Garrett, is that he knew that he had potential. He had a great coach in Coach Leffert to mold him, and he just worked his butt off. And I'm just very happy to see all those guys, just how successful they were and how successful they are right now, just to have that experience with them. It's just incredible. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So kind of transitioning to teams, like last year for NC State. So, I mean, have you been able to keep up with state football at all, especially last season?
Yeah, I kept up a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see what questions you're about to ask too. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, for me, I know that most guys who are in sports, most of the time when they watch the sport that they love, they usually watch the sport. They usually watch the position that they used to play. I mean, I'm like just like you. I'm sure you watch mainly offensive line. I'm sure quarterbacks mostly watch the quarterback play, etc. So, I mean, guys, ask you a general question of a sort in terms of, I mean, what are your thoughts on the offensive linemen there, like Grant Gibson, McGuanu, Joe Scorthorpe per left, Tyrone Riley, those guys. I mean, is there specific guy kind of stood out to you, when you were watching games?
Heck yeah. So I play with all them boys except what's Icky. Now I've seen that boy play though. That boy's nice. He's what I'm saying? Like, he's very, very talented too. And I love how aggressive he is. He's a finisher. He finishes all his blocks. And that's something that you always want, especially looking as a coach. I'm just looking at him right now. I'm like, wow. And I'm looking at, like, I'm kind of been associated and looking at the guys that they have there now. They're playing exceptionally well. Their technique is good. Kudos to the new coach, Coach Garrison. And he's done an excellent job with them boys. So that's something that's really cool to watch. But looking back at it from last year with the Tyrone Riley, Joe Scotta, Grant Gibson, I remember when Gibby was a scout D-lineman with us. But just looking at how they developed into the offensive line they are now, is like they had the same kind of demeanor to them. You know what I mean? And I'm excited to see how they do this year. I'm excited to see where Joe falls in his journey to go to the NFL. But I think that they played exceptionally well. Obviously there's ups and downs to a season. Obviously there's a lot of things that go on. But going into this year, I think they got a special squad, all of them, especially with Icky at left tackle, Gibson leading the line at center. And then, whoever needs to step up, but they still got a few guys in there that can do really well. So I'm excited for them. And I was happy with their play last year too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know, one play in particular that I'm sure you would love as a coach is the first touchdown against Miami, where Bailey Hawkman was run down. You saw Icky pancake block somebody like 30 yards down the field. Oh man, that's offensive lineman's dream right there.
Too, you see Joe Scotham caught 1-2 on that play too. Do you remember that?
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um, so yeah, so and then one of the things as well, I kind of wanted to do a couple kind of rapid fire questions, kind of a sort. So first of all, Coach Dorn, it just came out recently that he just got signed to a 2-year extension that's going to keep him through the 2025 season. So just want to kind of hear, like, what was your first conversation with Dorn, and what would you say to the people out there that still aren't still aren't on the Coach Doran train, that still are not sold on him being the football coach at NC State right now?
My first conversation with Dawn was, I mean, he was the only one to offer me. So
Yeah.
my relationship with him is very special. You know what I mean? We may not communicate all the time, but he knows that we were there for each other. Like, I was there for him and the school, just because of the sacrifice, like to offer a kid that was short, not that fast, and was a little overweight, to be his only offer. You got a special place in my heart, regardless of what, you took a chance on me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's very admirable, just to say, at that point. Yep. For the people that are thinking that on, you gotta understand that it takes a village. You know what I mean? And now, leadership wise, I think that he's been an excellent leader, just because you haven't heard too much of of bad things. Like, obviously there's some stupid things that the college kids do, obviously, every year, but the culture there is just so good. Like, I don't think anybody that you interact with that's an NC State student athlete, you admire how mature they are. You know what I mean? How professional they are, and a lot of credit goes to Coach Thunder too, and how they really develop those guys. But it all has to do with who Coach Dorn hires in that process, because it's everybody around him. And I think that they've done an excellent job putting the right people in the right spots, in the right places, because they go to get better jobs, and that's just the name of the game. The carousel is the carousel. But for how the kids are, for how we've been in the top 25 in his career for multiple times, for where we are in the ACC division, that's really tough, that you got to fight and claw to get to where you want to be. It's a tough job. You know what I mean? But for where he's at right now, I think that we're this close. And that's what is kind of like the state curse, is that we're always this close. But I think that with Coach Dorn, we're getting closer and closer and closer. And it's just going to take one good year to have people realize, to say, okay, this is really where it needs to be. And why would you want to start over? Especially how successful we've been, even though we haven't reached. But it's really hard to win a college football game if you just think about it in that sense. And so what we want to do is win a whole bunch. We want to win a championship. And that takes time, especially with the division it is. And it just keeps chipping away. That's who we are. We're a blue-collar school. We're a blue-collar team. Coach Dorn notified us on being a blue-collar, like the blue-collar school. And we're not like the wine and cheese eaters over there across the street. You feel me? So it's going to take a little bit for us, but we're there. We're close. So I'm with it. I'm on the train, and I know for sure that it's going to happen soon. Way sooner than later.
I agree. So, kind of a couple. So, kind of one or two more questions here. So, first of all, what would you say was your favorite game that you were in during your time at NC State?
I have two. My first one was when we went down to Tampa, Florida, and played USF, and we were like, we didn't know we were going to come win the game. Like, we didn't know how good we were. But they had come off a couple good wins, but we came down and beat them 49-0. That was one of my best games. My utmost favorite game ever played, though, was the Notre Dame game in the Hurricane Bowl. Mm-hmm. That was a really fun game. That was after we won the game, everybody was sliding in the mud. I wasn't. You did not see me sliding in that mud, but a whole bunch of people was going crazy. Pharaoh McKeever blocked the punt. And then who brought it back?
Dexter
yeah.
Wright.
Dexter Wright, and that won us the game, man. And then Kyle made his field goal. You know what I'm saying? In the Hurricane. So that was an incredible game. I played pretty well in that game too. And we got good pictures from it. And it's Notre Dame. It's a great, it's just a storied kind of
Every single football player we talk to has said the same one. I've said it as well. I mean, Notre Dame game, it's just such a unique atmosphere that you'll probably, hopefully, never see again. I mean, we shouldn't have probably even played that game anyway. But the one which actually too, which I would kind of want to get your thoughts on as well, was for me, Old Dominion was quite interesting for me, just
Yeah.
because of the fact that, I mean, you think of Old Dominion, you think, okay, small school, like, we're gonna go down there and beat them, 56-0, whatever it is, or whatever. But I mean, a lot of state fans, don't remember too. I mean, Old Dominion is famous for selling out games,
Mhm.
famous, and it was actually a, interesting atmosphere. It wasn't, no Joe Schmo atmosphere. It was a tough atmosphere, and I mean,
Yeah.
so for us, I mean, I would say really that was kind of a win for me that I kind of circled as underrated. I mean, that was
Yeah.
a great win against a good team and an interesting atmosphere for
Yeah.
sure.
Come to play, man. Like every time we played on Dominion, they had some great rushers. Like their D line was, they came to play. It was like I want to say they Super Bowl, but they turned it up. You can
Oh yeah,
definitely tell.
oh yeah. So last two kind of quick questions is, so first of all, what would you say is the toughest stadium you've ever played in at during your time in NC State?
Oh, it's got to be. It's funny though. I want to say freshman year it was Clemson, but
Mm-hmm,
we lost that game like 41-0.
mm-hmm,
But then when we came back, when we came back the second time I came, that stadium was quiet. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like no matter, even if they had 80,000 in it, they got quiet. The coolest one I played in though that we played in was Notre Dame. I gotta say Notre Dame again. That was a cool atmosphere, and I always loved playing in Tampa. I played there a lot in my career, but I'd say the toughest stadium to play was definitely Clemson by
Yeah,
far.
yeah, I agree.
Like if they winning, but if you on them, it get real quiet. It's like that's the most satisfying thing ever. Which one again?
Yep.
You
And
know what I mean?
then last question, which we've asked everybody, and we got to get your input on too. Favorite NC State uniform combo?
All black, baby. You already know what the deal is.
Which one? I know we've had a couple.
That's a good point. Um, the
So
one, the one that we beat Louisville.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, the kind of the chrome part to it.
yep,
Hmm.
I got that jersey. I still got that. I have one of those jerseys at the crib too. So
Okay.
that,
See, I'm telling you, I need to put together a because like almost every single player again has said that. So I need to put together like all these clips of all these players saying that combo and send it to Terry Callaway Country, the equipment manager, to be like, I'm telling you, dude, needs to be your blueprint from now
yeah,
on. That
and that's it.
uniform.
It gets recruits too. You feel me? It gets recruits
Oh, for
coming to
sure.
jerseys like that. It's on
Oh, for,
V.
oh, for sure, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Tony. Again, really appreciate you tuning in. Again, want to give you a chance as well, if just kind of let state fans know, where to, find you, find your website for Adams Athletic, anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow my business page at adamsathletics.com, and also Adams Athletics on Instagram, to where you can see a whole bunch of different training videos. I also have different ways that you can kind of transform your body within a short time. We sell bands, we sell a whole bunch of different type of equipment to help you get better in a home gym. Ultimately, we're going to have the high combat equipment coming soon, though. You can also follow me, my personal page, chefboy_T. And if you want to listen to some music, you can follow my other page at Boost Global with the one for L.
Yep.
But I really do appreciate you, Layton. This has been awesome. I love the show.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Can't wait to see what's up later. I want to see all the other people that came on too. See what they say about these questions too.
Need to. Yeah, we've had Garrett, we've had Matt, Red Jupa coming out soon. So yeah, no, we got a good lineup. So cool. Well,
All right.
thank you so much, Tony.
No problem, brother. Thank you.
All right.
You have a good night. And God bless.
All right, Wolfpack Nation. Hope y'all enjoyed that interview with Tony Adams. Again, such a great guy, and so cool to really see, how he's touching lives in so many different ways, and so many cool stories as well. So please make sure to share that with your friends and family, fellow NC State fans. Again, I think that's one that definitely all Wolfpack Nation should definitely check out. So make sure to do so. So So once again, guys, please make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to us by hitting the bottom right-hand corner. Please like this video, check out other content, and please reach out to us through Twitter or Instagram at Tuffy Talk Now. And please make sure again as well that if you have any interest in any Tuffy Talk merchandise, please feel free to direct message us about that as well. So with that being said, Wolfpack Nation, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please stay safe, and we will talk to y'all real soon. Thank you all again, and go Pack. Ooh.